This is La Grande Place, or in English, the Grand Place. For more than 9 centuries, it has been the center of Brussels for trade, for politics, and now for tourism. There's little wonder why. Surrounded by majestic buildings, this is considered one of the world's most beautiful city squares. Originally a humble marketplace where vendors sold items like meat and cloth, the square became the epicenter of early capitalism. Hundreds of tradesmen banded together by specialty, forming guilds, what today we'd call unions. They became so wealthy, they built guild halls that looked like palaces. Sitting on the site where bakers used to sell bread, this imposing building is now a museum. The square's showpiece is the town hall. Begun in the 15th century, it was remodeled a number of times. When you look at it, does something seem off? Here's a hint. Look at the clock tower. You'd expect it to be in the center of the building, but it's not. As you can see, the left side is longer than the right. That brings us back to the remodeling. Legend has it that when the architect saw his mistake, he jumped from the clock tower. That's probably just a tale. The unusual position of the tower is probably because there just wasn't enough room to extend the building to make both sides equal. The town hall is the seat of the city's government. Here too, the power of the guilds is still felt. The rich merchants spared no expense in richly decking out the hall, ensuring that they had a seat at the governing table, alongside the aristocracy.
No, in our country, we speak Flemish in the north and French in the south.
Guides take visitors on a grand tour of the grandly appointed rooms. Like so many places tracing its history back to the medieval times, the square had its ugly episodes. Public executions were held here. The city was also attacked by the French. Nearly all the buildings were destroyed, but then quickly rebuilt. Years later, the French returned under Napoleon. He ended the power of the powerful guilds. Adding insult to injury, he stripped the guild halls of their lavish furnishings and had them auctioned off in the square. And for some strange reason, in the 1960s, they turned this beautiful square into a parking lot. Fortunately, that didn't last. But here's an idea that has lasted. Every 2 years, the square is covered with a unique and colorful carpet, a carpet of flowers, about 1 million of them. There's one more thing about the Grand Square that's particularly special to us here at Teen Kids News.
And that's what's happening in Brussels for kids.
When our program began 20 years ago, this was one of the first locations in Europe where we shot a story.
What do you think your parents worry about the most and why?
Me.
As I said, that was 20 years ago. That cute kid is probably a parent herself now. My, how time flies. For Teen Kids News, I'm Ava.